All right, how about this? What led you to your decision of selling our patches through a network marketing company?
Yeah, so, actually, probably like many of you, your first experience with networking may not have really been that good. I was in college, and a friend of mine was going to go to a network marketing meeting on water filters, right? This would have been back in the 80s. So I joined him, and they were trying to get me to sign up into this company. So I was asking them these technical questions about the water filter. I wanted to know, how the silver that was in the carbon block, how it was actually deposited in there and how it wasn't going to get into the drinking water. And they couldn't answer the question for me, so I didn't join. So I went through a number of different businesses that I owned that were all successful. And I had a company in Georgia with a group of guys. This was our office was up in Dahlonega, site of the gold rush. So we were very fortunate. We were very close to where the Army Rangers trained. And what we were doing was developing survival equipment for the US Navy. And the type of people that I would give presentations to were PhDs from MIT and Stanford and those type of places. And so the idea of putting this product into networking seemed silly. I was really looking for a more traditional way to go. So I was looking into advertising on TV. I met with the CEO of GNC, so we're looking at going retail. And then I met a fellow that was interested in investing money into LifeWave, but he couldn't understand the science. So he hired a medical doctor who is a scientist to interview me. And over a course of 2 days, we spent 6 hours on the phone, and we quickly became friends. And he said, you need to speak with Dr. Carl Merritt. He's a very well-known medical doctor and biomedical engineer out in California. So I spoke with Dr. Merritt. And Dr. Merritt was an advisor to Coach Richard Quick at Stanford University. Now, Richard was a 6-time US Olympic swim coach and probably the most famous Olympic swim coach in the history of swimming. So about 3 weeks after meeting that initial person, I was putting patches on Olympic athletes. And that all happened from networking. So I thought, this is a product that has to go through networking. If it sits in a retail store, nobody is going to understand what this product does. So I would say it became really self-evident that networking was the way to go.
Now, so you didn't have a good experience, and you probably were saying you didn't really want to put it through a network. Is that kind of what you were thinking at first? Before you had the aha moment,
yeah,
you were kind of negative on the idea.
Yeah, it's what I found as an inventor is that God will open doors. And when we develop something in our labs, you can always kind of feel God at work in a certain direction. So you'll work on a project and things don't go well, right? The project is difficult, you're having a problem getting supplies, the timing is really off, and it's like, okay, this is like a resistance and I shouldn't be going in that direction. On the other hand, there are other projects that we work on where everything goes right. And it's like, okay, I'm meant to go in this direction. So it was very much this way with networking. The talks with GNC were okay, not really perfect. Looking at advertising on radio and TV didn't really make sense. And everything going in the direction of networking was just unbelievably smooth. Every door opened up. And so I thought, okay, this is the direction that God wants me to go in with this. So it became an easy decision.
Please share with us how the amazing X39 technology works. We got a lot of brand partners that are brand new, so they really want to hear from you. And then we got some highly sophisticated, educated doctors in the room, so kind of relate to all of them how this technology works.
Yeah, so the first thing to understand, I suppose, is that our bodies are based on light as a form of communication. We have a bioelectrical system in our body, which is all based on math and geometry. And if we can understand what this biological code is, we can do some really remarkable things with it. So the current direction of my research is looking at species that are immortal and looking at codes, the mathematical codes that we find in the Bible and mathematical codes that we find in nature, which I now think of as being God's fingerprint. And we can use this information to support the body's natural healing systems in ways that haven't been available before. So with the patches, which is one of many different technologies that we'll come out with. I know we'll probably talk a little bit about what's in store for the future, which is incredibly exciting. But on the patches, because this is our foundational technology and our foundational products, they stimulate the skin with a blend of different wavelengths of light that are modulated to contain information. So what does this mean? If we think of laser communications, which have been around for many, many decades now, and that's how fiber optics work. We're going to take a laser, we modulate the light to contain information, and then at the receiving end, that light is unpacked and decoded, and now we can hear voice or see video. So the human body essentially works the same way, meaning that light is emitted from the cells. And actually, how light is emitted from the cells is an incredibly fascinating subject because it's coming from the DNA and the hydrogen bonds in the DNA. And that light emission has actually come from the spiritual realm, you might say. But what this all means is that in the thousands and thousands of different biochemical reactions that are occurring at any one time, there are pulses of coherent laser-like light that is emitted from the DNA, emitted from the cells, and this orchestrates and initiates the changing biochemical environment in the cell. So what this means is that now, through normal course of aging, our glutathione or our copper peptide levels would decrease. But if we know the code where we can stimulate the skin and communicate with the body and say, hey, I'd like to increase those copper peptide levels, and I want to improve the activity of the stem cells in the body. If we know that code, then it's nothing more complicated than stimulating the skin with those wavelengths of light to instruct the cells to elevate the copper peptide. And the exciting thing is that that's only the beginning. What we can do with light-based technology is nothing short of extraordinary.
I've been seeing lately some other patches come my way. People send me emails, texts, or whatever, say, what about this patch? Get a hold of David, take him, you know, they're violating our technology patents, whatever. Can you tell them, you've seen most of them, do they have anything close that they can do what you just said to what we are doing? I mean, we don't need to be specific on the patch. You know they're out there. Is there anything that even come closer? Or they even talk in our language?
Yeah, there's no other product that's on the market that is duplicating or violating our patents. There's other products, and I would say that when you come across them, do a simple evaluation. You want to see first, do they have a mechanism of action, and does that make sense? Do they have clinical studies to support the claims that they're making? Are they making medical claims? I saw a product recently that was saying, oh yeah, we're registered with the FDA as a Class 1 medical device and we treat all of these diseases. Well, that's utter nonsense, because the only thing that treats a disease, according to the FDA, is a drug, and that would be Class 3. So Class 1 would be things like a tongue depressor, and you can't make any claims about medical treatments with a tongue depressor. So I would say, you know, just do due diligence, do an evaluation, but the simple answer is there's no company that's duplicating what we have.
What do you say to somebody that says, I've tried the patch, I've been on it for 3 days, could be a week, could be a month, I don't feel anything. Is there something going on with them? Because everyone that I've seen diligently beyond the X39 has been getting results. Can you tell us what's going on for maybe a simple answer for them to help their friend if they are just skeptical, not cynical, but skeptical?
Yeah, so absolutely. So at this point, we've done over 80 clinical studies over the last 20 years on the products. And so when someone says they have not experienced an effect, there is going to be an extremely small percentage of people. I mean, we're talking about 3 or 4% of the population that will not get an effect. Now, that effect is measurable. So if we have 96 or 97% of the population responding, that means it's measurable scientifically. That could be through a blood test, a urine test, bioelectrical test, and so forth. So in our studies, which we publish and which hit statistical significance, it means, let's say in the case of X39, is that we measured levels of copper peptide in the blood, and we were able to see increases in those levels of copper peptide. That doesn't mean you feel it, but statistically we can say that with confidence. So then we follow that up with another study such as a urine test, and we're going to measure the metabolism. So we look at how is the body utilizing amino acids, what hormonal changes might we see with X39, and those things also we hit statistical significance. We also use clinically relevant questionnaires, and we ask people, how do you sleep, how do you feel, overall wellness, and again, we see statistical significance. So the answer to this is that first, when people use the product, the odds are that it's making a change. They may not necessarily feel it. Now, if we think about the way stem cells work in the body, this was discovered at Sanford Burnham in La Jolla, California. What happens is that when a person has an injury, first there's a release of oxidative stress, then inflammatory cytokines, and those inflammatory cytokines are signaling molecules for stem cells. So the stem cells are attracted to inflammation. And what happens is a couple of things. First, we normally think about oxidative stress as a bad thing, but the fact of the matter is that it's there to decrease or kill off the bacteria. So you get an injury, and now the body kicks in mechanisms to prevent you from getting an infection. The inflammation is there so you can make way for healthy tissue. So wound healing can begin, and then the stem cells go in and start producing collagen and growth factors. But as people get older and their antioxidant systems become depleted, the ability of the body to remove that inflammation declines, and now the inflammatory cytokines kill off the stem cells, and now people are left with these chronic injuries. So for wound healing, it's really very simple. We get the inflammation under control, we increase the number of circulating stem cells, we drive those stem cells over to the injury site. So let's say somebody says, well, I have this knee pain, and I used X39 for a month, the knee pain hasn't gone away. Well, this is because they have a higher degree of inflammation in a different part of their body, maybe their shoulder, their lower back. And if you ask them, they're going to say, well, yeah, now that you say it, that lower back pain I've had for 20 years is gone, right? So it's very important that before people start using the products, that they take before, after photos, they get an assessment of how their body's feeling, where the aches and pains are, their medical history, so they can be aware of some of these injuries, and then after a month, 2 months, they start to see the changes. Wow.
So that's 97% are going to see results if they stay on the X39. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the adhesive. Sometimes people got a question, they might have an allergy or whatever. Can you tell us a little bit what it's made of so we can help answer that question?
Yeah, so we have 2 facilities where we manufacture the patches. One is in the US and one is in Ireland. And from the very beginning, we have made the products as medical grade products. So the facilities are all registered with regulatory bodies, and the adhesive is medical grade. It's manufactured by 3M, and it's a hypoallergenic adhesive. It's an acrylate adhesive, and about 1 in 10,000 people will have an allergy to it. So if you're allergic to the adhesive in Band-Aids, you might be allergic to the adhesive in our product. But the good news is that because the patches stimulate the skin with light, you don't actually have to apply them directly to the skin. It's just that that's the most convenient way of using it. So you could, if you're allergic to the adhesive, you can apply the patch on the inside of the clothing, and that patch is still going to stimulate the skin.
If I'm wearing a patch, I mean, if I got a patch in my pocket, could I be getting some effects?
Yeah.
If I haven't even opened it up, I'm just wearing an open patch, I stuck it in my pocket, you know, can it be working on my body?
Yeah, there's actually some truth to that, because our bodies emit heat in the form of infrared light. And that's just a normal part of metabolism. And this, of course, is very easy to measure with medical infrared imaging. And that field is going to extend several feet from the body. So before X39, our lead products that we used to demonstrate were LifeWave and Eon. So myself and others, you know, we've patched thousands of people at events, so we might have 30 people on stage. And you'd find people where you would be going towards their body with an Eon patch, and they would say that they felt a reduction in pain. And this is because of the patch is working through the infrared of the body and communicating with that. So yeah, do not put the patches directly, the sleeve of patches directly on your body.
Has the sales of X39 taken to a certain degree, so we know we're promoting something that we know that's growing and we're on the right track? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, okay, so first, 50% of our sales is X39. That is head and shoulders above any other product. So it's very clear that in building a business, all of the teams that are successful, by the way, you know, shame on me, because I should have started out by saying congratulations to you and Gina and Onyx and your team. You guys have the fastest growing team in the world. Not just the US, but in the world.
In the world! And there's many that have just gotten started. We ain't seen nothing yet. After they break out of This Is It here, we are gonna rock this thing and really step it up, so you get excited.
Yep.
Some folks want to know, there's the case studies with the, you know, behind the neck, below the belly button, but if they got an acre of pain somewhere else in their body, can they put the patch anywhere?
Yeah, you know what, practical, so I'm going to say this from practical experience because it's not anecdotal. Over the last 20 years, I've applied patches to easily over 10,000 people, easily. And as have many of our brand partners. And through practical experience, what we see is that if you take a patch like X39 and apply it behind the neck or below the belly button, first of all, the studies show that that is going to elevate blood levels of copper peptide, right? That's going to be the first thing.